This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter.
This is Tiny at Obsessive Tiny on Twitter.
And this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. I meant to bring up if we should have you say your name, Fekkes, or if we should have
I feel like
names.
I'm a guest, so
Yeah.
And you don't have Twitter, do you?
I do, but I follow a bunch of adult film actresses, so
Me
it's
too.
Well, there goes we'll have to have you on for
and Bill Nye the Science Guy, so that's weird.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
We'll have to have you on for our adult film episode.
Well, if there's two things that go together, it's a children's science show and porn.
Damn right.
Bill Nye's actually on the original shows on Netflix now.
I saw that.
Yeah,
That's
I haven't
nice.
watched any of it, but anyway, welcome to the Obsessive Viewer. We're a weekly movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show. Each episode, you can find back episodes at ovpodcast.com and find the corresponding blog at obsessiveviewer.com. Where I haven't posted anything recently, but I'm about to start posting my Marvel Cinematic Universe reviews one at a time throughout the next 2 months, leading up to Ant-Man. So that'll be happening soon. And also, if you're in the Indianapolis area, come see us at Indy PopCon on June 26th, my birthday, to June 28th. We'll be recording throughout the weekend and giving away DVDs. I have a bunch of DVDs that I don't really want or need anymore, so we're just going to give them away at the booth. Some of them. Tickets are available at indypopcon.com. And also we're now available on TuneIn Radio. If you're familiar with that app, check us out on there. And hey guys, how's it going?
Good.
The voice, our guest today is Robert Fekkes, a frequent guest. He's here to talk with us about the Poltergeist remake. So first of all, how's it going, everyone?
Fantastic. Doing good.
Really good, really good. It's
Nice.
summer. Doesn't feel like it.
No, it doesn't.
It's getting there. It's getting there.
Yeah.
Soon enough. But like I said, we're going to talk about Poltergeist, and we have a lot to talk about with that. Spoiler alert, I'm not sure how much positive we'll have to say about it. But
Almost nothing.
almost nothing, exactly. But before we get to that, I want to just touch on a few news items that popped up recently. First of all, I mentioned Indy PopCon. Edward James Olmos is going to be there, so that's cool. And I kind of regret not watching Battlestar Galactica in the year since last PopCon, because I would have more of an interest in him, I guess. But
Yeah.
this is probably the biggest name that they've announced yet.
Oh,
so.
definitely.
Yeah, I was
definitely-
actually kind of underwhelmed with the names they have so far.
Yeah.
I was after last year. They had a lot of good people there. They had the guy that does the Bender voice on Futurama.
Yeah.
He did an awesome panel, and creator of the Ninja Turtles. I mean,
The Fifth Doctor.
Yeah. And they had, this year it kind of seems like they're kind of going for more of a internet personality, YouTuber, Twitcher kind of crowd, I guess. Which that's really popular these days. But I'm not in touch with the artists of that medium. So
I would rather have Hodor there again.
Yeah.
oh, he was so awesome.
He was great.
Yeah, and then also before we get started on our topic again, there's news of a potential director for the Dark Tower, which I've gone on record by saying, on the Facebook page and everything, that I'm not going to really entertain this notion until this notion of a Dark Tower movie. The Stephen King's Dark Tower series is his magnum opus book series that I love. Tiny, you love it too.
Love it.
Yes. Fekkes, have you ever read the Dark Tower?
I read one of the books in college for a class. I very much enjoyed it and
Nice.
just never got back to the series.
No, I highly, highly recommend it. But anyway, so they announced a potential director. I don't really know him for many things. It's Nikolaj Arcel. But
Yeah.
anyway, I'll put the link in the show notes. But one thing that stuck out to me is that it was cool because I was kind of like, okay, well, I don't really know anything about this director at all. But there was one thing that in the article said that he's a massive Stephen King fan, and he's he learned English so that he could better appreciate Stephen King's books and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, that's probably a good director to have.
That's
on
the
this
kind of
project.
director you want.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
like having Peter Jackson do the Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
trilogy. The
Yeah.
first one, not the Hobbit.
I don't think he made any Hobbit movies. I don't think those existed.
I don't remember that.
Oh, there was a great picture of like of is it Toriel, Evangeline Lilly's character saying like, if this is, why does it hurt so much? If this is love, why does it hurt so much? And then like her dad or whoever it was in the movie just says like, because it wasn't in the books.
There's also another one with Orlando Bloom, and it just says, "I'm not even supposed to be here today."
Oh, I love it.
That's pretty good.
Oh, that's great. And finally, our last piece of news for the week is that the last couple episodes I've talked up the show Bloodline on Netflix, which I still highly recommend. Such a great, awesome opening first season for a show. But in my excitement over it, I was Googling and I found out that one of the key actors in it, Ben Mendelsohn, is going to be the villain in Star Wars anthology movie. I think it's one of the unannounced ones. So I was just really excited about that.
Cool.
Even though I'm not really that into Star Wars that much. Although,
you're getting there.
I'm getting there.
You will be.
References.
Yeah.
What's Ben Mendelsohn? What's he done?
He was Daggett in The Dark Knight Rises, the guy with the kind of lispy guy.
Okay, yeah, I know who you're talking about now.
And he was also in, what else was he in, Tiny, that you saw?
The Place Beyond the Pines.
Ah, there you go.
Yes, that's right. He was the guy that helped with the bank robberies.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen it, but anyway, so that's our news for the week, I guess. But we're here to talk about Poltergeist, and just this recently came up. Like it kind of flew under the radar. I wasn't really that anxious to see this movie. I don't really have a vested interest in the Poltergeist franchise or anything, but I was like, Sam Rockwell's in it, so I'll give it a shot. And then I figured we could have an episode about it. So it recently came out to pretty muddled reviews. I don't think it's gotten that much praise or anything like that. But before we get into our review of Poltergeist, the remake, how do you guys feel about the original?
The original is my all-time favorite horror film.
Wow.
Wow.
So this is definitely the episode to have you on.
Poltergeist, the remake, when I first saw the announcement of it, I wanted to smash things, and but I gave it a shot because, like you said, Sam Rockwell. But no, I grew up on Poltergeist. It terrified me as a child. Now as an adult, I just come to appreciate it as a film, and all the hands that you can see of Spielberg in it, which I'm told, reading up on it, you read a lot that Spielberg should have almost had a co-director spot on it, but it's just, for me, it's timeless. Just the story, the way they get some of the practical effects off in the film, I grew up on it, so I even, as a kid, was obsessed enough with the first movie that I watched and somewhat appreciated as a child the sequels, which now as an adult, I'm like, I was young and dumb and needed the money.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love the original, actually.
Nice.
It's not my favorite of all time horror movie, but it's a top 5 without question.
Nice.
It just has that Spielberg charm to it. All the wonderful things about Jaws that made it so unique and thrilling. I think there are an equal amount of things in Poltergeist. We're going to need a bigger boat line. I feel like here is equally as iconic.
Absolutely.
In my eyes, anyways. And it's just, I don't know, the personalities of all the characters in that movie just jump off the screen really well. It's a great character movie as well as a amazing story. So I really love the original.
Nice. I'm kind of not indifferent to the original or anything. I saw it once with you, Tiny, and I think I was falling asleep like midway through it. So I couldn't really appreciate it. But after seeing the remake, I went and revisited it, and I gained more of an appreciation for it in terms of its filmmaking techniques and the way that it introduces elements to, for maximum scares and everything. Even like the more iconic. The iconic scene of the face thingy where he sees this face and he's, scratching it off.
Funny story, that's Spielberg's hand scratching the guy's face.
Is it really?
It is.
See, I didn't know that.
Nice.
That's interesting. But I like seeing it now. It's like it's pretty dated and pretty cheesy. Some of the
It
effects
is,
are
yeah.
a little cheesy.
1982.
But I'm not going to hold it against it or anything because it's packaged in a product that is so, like you said, timeless,
Right.
Fekkes. And it's really interesting to see it from now. And like that, the "they're here" line is so eerie the way that it's delivered.
Oh,
and,
the girl that played Carol Ann, just so creepy.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, innocent but creepy.
Right.
She embodies everything that it is about children that freak me out.
Oh yeah. like I
Gonna be
like
a great dad.
I watched it here at my apartment, like kind of late at night, and I had all the lights off and everything like that. But then when the opening scene happened, where she's just sitting in front of the TV talking to it, and like I think this is the opening scene, one of the opening scenes.
It's close to it.
Yeah,
when
really any of the scenes
Coach
where
is asleep
she's-
on the recliner. Yeah.
and then that one scene where like everyone's staring at her and they're not sure what the hell's going on. I think it's that opening scene. Watching that here, I was like, that's just the perfect way to introduce a movie. That's really creepy. That's really, the atmosphere is just perfect. And so yeah, I gained a new appreciation for it, especially after seeing the remake, which is how
Oof.
yeah. Ugh.
Pretty rough.
Yep. So why don't we go ahead and go into our discussion of Poltergeist 2015? We won't spoil it now, but we will probably end up getting into a discussion where we spoil it, and then I'll just tag it on at the end of the episode, I guess. So if you're listening now, obviously you are, but and you don't want to be spoiled, don't worry about it. If you do, wait until after Potpourri.
If you see the movie, it'll spoil everything for you.
So, okay, where to begin with this movie? Because they did some things different. I don't want to, like when I was watching it, I was like, okay, I don't want to have like it tied to the original for me. I want to kind of think about it as its own thing. But
that's almost impossible to do with the remake, though. I mean,
yeah.
So I mean, especially for someone who, like me, has such an appreciation for the original, I can't not watch it and sit there and just say the original did better. Original did. I mean, in almost every sense.
Right. And that is one thing about it that it's hard to separate. It's hard to separate it from the original because it is so. The movie felt like to me that they were taking the current kind of, popularization or the current trend of like haunted house movies and supernatural thrillers, and then they decided to dust off an old property and was like, okay, well let's throw that premise into this movie that's a pretty standard, like into this movie dynamic or whatever, this template, and then inject it with some of the original lines, the icons of the original and everything, and then let's just hope that it works out well, and it doesn't at all.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, so.
Well, I mean, if you try to focus on what was good about it, I thought it was bad, but there were some things I liked. I mean, it's hard for me to not like Sam Rockwell because I think he's just one of my favorite actors.
Sam Rockwell's great, but after watching the movie, I just have to say, well, why? Because Sam Rockwell's given some liberty to be Sam Rockwell in the beginning of the film, and then it just kind of drops off, and it's just you could have copied and pasted.
That's very true.
Some actor there.
Yeah, at a certain point, it does. He's just reading lines, essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can't really blame him for that because this script was just very.
Oh my god!
It was a very plastic script.
It was lazy.
It was awful.
Yeah.
I have so many questions for you guys.
Okay.
But first of all, like my tweet after seeing it was, essentially it was, Sam Rockwell got paid, and I feel like that's how he approached the movie also, because he doesn't give any. Like, this is a paycheck movie for him.
Yeah.
But I've never seen Sam Rockwell, and not to say that I've seen everything he's done. I don't recall seeing that's a paycheck movie for me from Sam Rockwell.
It is definitely
Not really. I mean, he used to be in bigger movies. He got a lot of his big blockbusters out of the way back when he was younger. Like, I mean, you could make an argument for Galaxy Quest being kind of a big studio movie.
It's a good movie, but I don't know if I consider that a big studio movie. I mean,
I don't know. Well, compared to the stuff he's doing now,
well,
it's stuff that a lot of stuff he does now doesn't hit theaters. It goes into film fests and stuff, and you catch it on Netflix 6 months later.
Yeah. Right.
That's what he's doing a lot of now.
And in Galaxy Quest, he gave a good, performance.
Oh, yeah.
It was
totally.
he brought, it wasn't bland like in Poltergeist.
Yeah. Well, and the Green Mile.
You know what? It pains me to say I've not seen the Green Mile.
Really?
Yeah.
He's really great in that. So.
I hear nothing but good things, and I need to watch it.
I've only seen it once, and I pride myself on being a Stephen King fan and a Frank Darabont fan.
I mean, in the last blockbuster he was in, or the big movie it was in, it was probably Iron Man 2.
Yeah,
probably.
Which
5 years ago.
I know you guys lambast that, but I think he's one of the more enjoyable parts of Iron Man 2. He kills it. He kills it. His scenes with Robert Downey Jr. are fantastic.
He steals some scenes, definitely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I just wish that the script kind of did something useful with him. This is a tangent, but I mean, I don't think we really covered this I think we did in the Marvel episodes, but his storyline with Vanko was just a mess for me. It felt like they got Sam Rockwell, they got a character from the comics, Justin Hammer. Do something better with him, I guess.
They tried to put a lot into that movie.
They did,
but
right.
Anyways,
back to Poltergeist. Another thing that I think was a positive was the kid, the son. His name is Kyle Catlett. He played Griffin in the movie. I thought he was pretty good.
Actually, I'll agree with you, and I won't spoil it, but I was kind of a fan of the turn with him towards the end of the film.
Right.
I was okay with that change.
Me too.
And I thought it worked well for that story.
He was the one. Probably off the top of my head, he was the one character who had an emotional plot line, an emotional through line throughout the entire movie, and that's one thing that's the one thing I could really latch onto is he had an emotional journey to undertake in this movie, in a redemptive story, and that's pretty much all I could get from it.
Yeah. They could have expounded upon obviously Sam Rockwell's character. I don't want to say is disappointed, but he doesn't know how to relate obviously to his son. I think they could have expanded on maybe some past instances with his son of why maybe he was timid or
everything. There was no depth to anything.
It was just so very rushed.
Well, you've got to play devil's advocate. Sam Rockwell's character was busy maxing out credit cards and buying a new house when he was laid off, and both him and his wife were unemployed.
That was one of my biggest pet peeves about this entire movie. You're going to devote 15, 20 minutes at the beginning of it talking about how dire straits these these people are in financially, and he's just screw it. I'm going to go buy everyone fabulous gifts.
And it was a scene right after, literally the next scene after he had to use his third credit card to pay for a squirrel trap.
$20 worth of material out of Home Depot.
Yeah.
And then he's here's a $500 phone, $400 earrings, and here's this drone that, wink, wink, won't be of any use sometime.
Yeah. That's what frustrated me so much, because that scene literally plays out he's saying okay, well, here, daughter, you were a total bitch to your mom. Here's a free gift. Here, wife, here's a piece of jewelry. This is really nice. Here, kid, here's a drone that I'm pretty sure is age appropriate and isn't going to have any bearing in the plot later. Okay, daughter, here's pizza or something. I don't care. I already established the drone. There's no reason for me to have another gift for you because
here's pizza, chicken McNuggets. Go to hell, daughter.
And then also to add to that, the fact that the kid is in hysterics about a supernatural thing that just happened to him, and they're like, okay, well, shut up. So here, take your damn drone. It's and the one thing that really frustrated me from the outset of the movie is they're with the realtor, they're looking at the house, and then there's a whole thing where they have a little awkward moment between him and the realtor where she talks about John Deere, and he's like, well, they just laid me off and all that. So I'm like, okay, so your wife's unemployed. I thought for a while that his wife was a big time author because and he was laid off because whatever, but they were able to afford a house. But no, they're both financially unsecure, and
that's not that wasn't like a shoebox house they were getting. No, it looked like a pretty decent house.
It was decent.
Yeah, and one of the kids is like, "Oh, I don't like this house," and then the mom's like, "Well, it's temporary." I'm like don't like why buy a house? I don't understand the logic of that. I don't understand like rent somewhere and then get on your feet.
Right. Get in an apartment, get a little rental house, 2-bedroom, whatever. It's like, no, we're gonna get this, 4-bedroom giant house that's clearly a piece of junk.
Right. And I can understand they did establish it as being like, okay, well, foreclosures in this area really drag the price down and everything and all that. But I'm like, I just, it was hard for me to connect to it, and it was distracting to me because, I mean,
I agree. I mean, it was lazy. It's like, well, here they are. They were only in, poor conditions when it was convenient to the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And although
that damn squirrel trap.
That's it, right. That sent me over the edge. I'm so mad. I'm going to have to go buy earrings now.
But that, I agree, and it didn't, them being destitute didn't really add anything to it either.
No.
Because it wasn't necessary in the original, and he's still...
No, it wasn't even a part of the original.
No,
it wasn't,
I mean, in the original, he's very successful, and, he's...
Right.
He's a top seller in their company, and...
But, I don't even think they say what the wife does. I think
in the original, I think she's just a stay-at-home mom.
Is she? And I don't even remember because it's not addressed because it doesn't matter.
Right.
I watched it last week, and I don't remember.
Yeah.
And then just, it was so frustrating. The movie itself was completely frustrating to me, but, also, like, they could have used the fact that they were in poor financial standing as a reason to really amplify the tension. This is the problem that I had with, one of the Paranormal Activity movies, is that they established that the mom and dad are having problems, but then the whole movie's about the damn teenager and her
the boyfriend
guy. And I'm like, they're establishing that they're having troubles. They could use that, but they don't return to it either movie.
They don't need the tension in the family for me, because I thought one of the strongest things about the original was the fact that it very clearly established it as a very close, loving family. So sure, there's some issues, but nothing out of the ordinary. And that's what, brings them together throughout the problems that they face. It's a very strong family dynamic in the original. So to break that up in the sequel for no apparent reason, or not sequel, but remake. It didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
And I can understand that.
I mean, I was waiting to be connected to the family, because you get a really strong connection to the family in the original, and so you care about them when all these horrible things are happening. And yet you still see throughout the film and what they're dealing with, there's still a really strong family component. Like, after Carol Ann is taken in the original, they go to the paranormal professors at the university, and they just talk about how close and how strong everyone's been throughout the entire process. You just don't get that sense,
right?
In the remake.
And you talked about the kid that played Griffin, the girl, like in delivering the iconic line, "They're here." I felt like that was just completely effortless in the remake. Like, they didn't really. I mean, it's 2 words, and they failed on it.
And didn't they like preface it with "They're coming"?
She said
that's
which
right.
I thought was a little bit effective, to be honest.
Yeah, but if you're going to do that, leave it at that.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Agreed.
Yeah, it was something else.
Yeah.
There were a couple, like Tiny says, there's a couple things I did enjoy, like with the television stuff. I kind of like the hands coming through on so that was kind of that was
cool.
kind of neat. I didn't hate the paranormal eradicator, I guess.
Yeah.
I didn't hate him,
Jared Harris.
Yeah, but I thought he brought too much levity to it.
I had some problems with that character. He not so much the performance, because I thought that he did well. I like Jared Harris as an actor, and I felt like I would have liked him more in a different movie.
Yeah.
But I mean, just I agree with your point, Fekkes, that it did bring too much levity to it, because I mean, like, he's going around, he's showing like his scars to the kids, and
right, it's like Lethal Weapon, and it was like, I got this one when I took down a bank robber.
And then there's that scene where he's like, where he's like, I'll tell you what this scar on my head's from after this is over, if you're still alive. I'm like, dude, his sister is like, like there's a life and death situation with his sister. Like, don't tell a kid. Like, and then like the way that the rest of that scene plays out, it's like the other and this is light spoilers, but the paranormal professor lady is like, "Why do you do that?" And I'm like, "Yes, thank you." And then she's like,
"Valid question."
Yeah, and then she follows it up with, "Because it makes you sound old." I'm like, "No, you're missing the point." And then to add to that, the mom of the kid is like, "Wait," and I was like, "Thank you." Yeah. And then she's like, "You guys were married?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Fuck, come on, really?"
Yeah. Completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
So dumb.
And
like,
then
here's a relationship for reasons.
Yeah.
in the original movie, and like I said, I tried to separate the original from the remake, but the original is fresh in my mind now, and it's kind of, like you said, it's hard to separate it. So in the original, there's a scene where they're in their bedroom and the parents are just smoking pot, and it's kind of like played as like okay, these are kind of laid back, cool like parents, like I guess.
Yeah.
I guess that's the effect it's going for, but the remake substitute, like, and this is such a weird critique, but it's like, instead of like having like smoking weed, they're drinking just liquor, and I'm like,
yeah,
it's a different effect for me, because it's like, okay, they're both unemployed, they're just getting kind of sauced,
and he's like, "You got any good scotch?"
Yeah, I'm like, okay, they're not really getting across the point that they're like kind of cool parents or whatever. They just look like alcoholics,
right. Financially irresponsible parents. More of that.
One thing that stuck out to me a lot with this was the effects, because they were really bad.
They very bad.
Well, and it wasn't so much that they were really bad; it was just that they were so unnoteworthy.
Yeah.
I mean, the original, in my opinion, the effects in the original are really good. I mean, with the exception of the scene Matt mentioned earlier.
Right.
I mean, at the time, again, it was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But even now, it's.
I mean, that's like saying the scene in Raiders is poor.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the same thing. It's
Right.
just, it's not. I mean, at the time, it was good.
Right.
Well,
but I think a lot of the other stuff holds up really well, like from the original, like when the tunnel or like the passage into the other world looked really gross and creepy, and
in this one it's just like, here's a burn in the ceiling.
Yeah. And it was just like a black void with some flashy lights. It was like, what is that?
Yeah.
And it's just amazing to me that 33 years ago, or however many years ago, the practical effects from that movie blow all the effects from this one out of the water.
Well, it's so much more effective. And like, one of my favorite effects from the original is the chair stacking scene.
Oh, yes.
And if you read up on that, it's not like they just brought in a bunch of glued chairs together.
Right.
That was done in a shot. They panned the camera over. A bunch of people who are apparently really skilled at that came over in that few seconds, stacked those chairs, bring back, and the effect of that is just, it's amazing.
Absolutely.
It is, yeah.
Even today,
Absolutely.
like just seeing that still gives me chills watching that movie. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And they tried to replicate it in this one with the comic books, and it was just like,
it was
here's your digital comic book.
Exactly.
And
I'm like, that annoyed me. That annoyed me. And then also when they tried to do the face melting scene, it, like, okay, yes, that is one of the, I guess, it's one of the iconic scenes from the original, but it's kind of, it hasn't aged well.
Yeah.
Right.
So they could have done well with it.
They could have made that a practical effect too. They could have brought in somebody that was extremely good in makeup.
Oh yeah.
Something like that. It doesn't have to be all digital, and that's what it was. Every scare was all digital.
Yeah,
it was.
With that scene, it's like they were trying to save money, because it wasn't even like, it wasn't even a mirror. It was just a reflection
from the faucet. Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
I mean, I guess from a minimalist
should have been a
standpoint,
spoon. Him just looking at it.
Also, I'm glad you mentioned the part, Fekkes, with the chairs and the stacking and stuff like that, because I think one of the cool things about the original is that it's very, it has a clear line of progression. So it's like when this paranormal stuff first starts happening, especially the mom is kind of excited by it,
Right?
Because they don't know what they have, and
they're playful. It's almost like the ghosts are playful.
Exactly, and it's not scary. It's just kind of incredibly fascinating.
Right.
And that's how they have treated it first, but as soon as their daughter goes missing, it hits the wall, and from there it's scary and it's crazy.
Right.
But in this movie, it's like one night they go to this party, and they come back and like the youngest kid is missing, the one kid's in a tree, and the other daughter's being sucked into the garage.
Right.
And it's like one fell swoop. It's like, whoa, where's all the discovery at? It's just happened.
Yeah.
And no one asks why the kid how the kid got in the tree, anything like that. It's
You know what? God, I never even thought about that, but yeah, there's no discussion about that tree. Oh, that's awful.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, the progression of the entity in the original is fantastic.
Yeah.
It starts off as playful, even comes in with the music. Like the music from the beginning of the film is kind of childlike, kind of innocent, and progresses to more malevolent music, actions. But this one there's no playfulness whatsoever. It's boom. This is a bad spirit.
Yeah.
And bad music. There's no progression whatsoever.
The whole thing just felt rushed.
It did. It really did.
I meant to look up the time. What the runtime is, the original?
It's like
the original was about right around 2 hours.
Yeah.
This one was at like
93.
like 93 minutes.
Yeah. Something like
the original is about 2 hours even.
Okay. I really felt that when I was watching this.
Yeah.
that. Right.
I mean, it felt super rushed.
Yeah, and like about quarter of the way through, when I was like, okay, this movie is just garbage. I was just like, well, at least I don't have that much time left to watch it. It was.
This is flying by.
Some of the good things you can say about it. At least it's short.
Yeah, and I mean,
Parking was ample.
and I mean, okay, the effects. What I didn't like about it, one of the many things I didn't like about it also is that it relied too much on jump scares, which is kind of a.
I was gonna make that point.
Yeah.
Yes, the jump scares.
Like the other part of my tweet was Sam Rockwell got paid, and it was only like 88% jump scares. Because I was expecting every single element of it to be jump scare, and it was to an extent, but there was a little bit of, drone.
And here's another thing that just really grated on me. It's like in the original, one of the not most iconic, but one of the iconic scares is Robbie's clown.
Yeah.
And this one, they're just like, well, here's this box of scary looking clowns that are in this attic for no reason.
Yeah.
Right.
No, and they even make a mention of the previous owner. He was such a techie. He wired this entire thing. Oh, by the way, he also loved freaky clowns.
Yeah.
And it was just such an obvious. It was like beating the viewer over the head. This is going to be part of a scare.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Plus, it's like, well, it was in the first one, so we had to pay homage to it, or at least attempt to, and it didn't fit really.
No, it was so thrown down the throats, and I hated it. As soon as I saw a box of scary clowns, I wanted to throw something at the screen.
Yeah. It was.
Again, lazy writing.
Yeah, totally missed the mark across the board in this movie, and it was like if I had stronger feelings about the original going into this remake, I mean I would have been offended by it.
Yeah,
like it would have been offensively bad for me.
And the thing so effective for me about the original, the movie gives you time to breathe in the original with kind of downplay and showing the paranormal researchers what's going on and the chuckles at how freaked out they are. There's none of that. It just doesn't stop. There's no breathing time. And in the original, one of my favorite scares is when the mother's doing laundry upstairs, and Carol Ann's already gone. The paranormal investigators have already been there, and she just walks to the children's room and opens carefully, timidly opens the door, and you just hear that scream. I love that scare.
Oh yeah,
that's fantastic, and it's so simple, and yet it doesn't have to throw a squirrel at me to make me jump.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there was a very heavy psychological aspect to the first movie. You could see again, just the progression, or I guess it would be the opposite. It would be the regression of the family's mental health throughout this whole crisis. And like that tiny little thing where she opens the door, like the scene you were talking about, just destroys her for a moment.
Right.
That was completely gone in this. There was just nothing.
And then they had with one of the paranormal guys, one of the student guys or whatever, the one that wasn't
the one
sure about it. That okay, how much of an asshole is he to be go up to a little kid and be like, be like, so, I mean, is this part of a gag or whatever? That you're
Be honest, your dad's an asshole, right?
right. Be honest, little kid.
Yeah.
Your parents are assholes, and you just want a reality show. I mean, I guess that's a play on the whole balloon boy thing, but
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, though. How old is that child in this? Maybe 8, 9.
Yeah.
Like the parents. Say the parents are scamming, okay? Are they going to pull their 9-year-old like, all right, this is the deal, kid. We're going to get you out on the ground level on this one. We're getting a reality show, and this is how. We're going to throw your little sister in the back closet for a little bit, and it'll be great. Just act scared.
Devil's advocate, though, Balloon Boy.
Okay.
They
I
did,
get, yeah.
but also, I mean, yeah, it's
that guy was too cynical.
Yeah.
Even for a horror movie, he was too cynical.
What's he even doing in the paranormal research area anyway? He clearly is. And even after he gets messed with by the entity, he's still kind of like...
And he doesn't say anything.
Right?
He did, that annoyed me so much. It's like, okay, it's clear that something is going on. Like he's clearly like the skeptical one. He's playing to a certain archetype or whatever. But like there is evidence of what happened to him, and like they're monitoring stuff for this, and he doesn't like go down and say like, oh hey, by the way, the poltergeist just screwed with me.
Yeah.
It's like,
so, it must have been the LSD, I guess.
yeah.
Well, can we get into spoilers?
Yeah, we can go ahead and go into spoilers. So yeah, that was our spoiler discussion, and I'm trying to think in terms of how I'm editing this podcast, but so okay, yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and go on to a potpourri section after just having a fruitful discussion in the spoiler section, which you can find after the episode ends. This episode ends before our pre-recorded outros. So of course, this is potpourri, and this is the section of the podcast where we talk about whatever we want, as long as it smells good. Basically anything we're watching, anything we're looking forward to, anything that didn't, that strikes our fancy. So, Fekkes, since you're our guest, do you want to go first?
Sure. I don't know how much has ever been mentioned on the times I've been here, but I'm a huge Ninja Turtle fan. Have been since I was a child, so I follow the movies and I read the comic books very closely. Mm-hmm. So I'm obviously following all the news of the upcoming Ninja Turtles 2, which
right.
I'll start this off with saying that while I'm not going to come out and defend it as a great movie, I thought that the Ninja Turtles from last year was decent, but that's coming from a Ninja Turtle fan, so it's hard for me to think too critically about it.
Sure.
But I'm getting a little bit excited about the second one. Casey Jones is going to be in it, who I'm a huge fan of, and I like the choice they've made for Casey Jones. I've seen the pictures.
Steve Amell from Arrow?
Yeah. So I've seen the pictures so far. While he doesn't have the long hair, I can get past that, but he looks good. He looks good in the footage, or not the footage, but the stills I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
They in the original they had Karai, but she was very just a throwaway character. And I didn't like her to begin with because they used she was like a 40-some-year-old woman, and Karai is supposed to be, Shredder's her mentor. She's young. That it's her uncle. So I picture her more in her 20s, maybe late teens, and they've fixed that for the next one. They've hired a much younger actress. They're incorporating Bebop and Rocksteady, and they've released the first stills from them so far, and they haven't announced yet if they're going to have a mutated Bebop and Rocksteady, but the still they've showed are pre-mutated Bebop and Rocksteady.
Right.
I like them, and
I love those names.
Right. Oh, they're great.
Just hearing that, I don't know much about them, but I just hearing the names, I'm like, that rolls off the tongue nicely.
Right.
So yeah.
The actor they chose for Bebop, interestingly enough, if you guys follow wrestling, is Sheamus. From
I don't
wrestling.
know who he is, but
he's an Irish wrestler, so I'm not sure how they're going to do with his voice, but I like Sheamus in wrestling, so I'm pumped to see him personify Bebop on the big screen. But I'm getting more excited about it. They've replaced the Shredder, so I think they did that because I think they're going to have him more of an integral role this time, not so much of he was kind of a throwaway character. It's like he's Shredder, so they had to have him in there, but they didn't really develop him all that much.
Right.
So I'm hoping that they do that for this. William Fichtner's going to be back in it too.
Nice.
So I'm cautiously hopeful for Ninja Turtles 2. So I'll keep following it, and We'll see. One of the biggest problems I had with the last year's movie was if it was called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I felt like the main character was April O'Neil.
Yeah.
And I had a big problem with that. So hopefully they kind of fix that. So we'll see. I'll probably love it regardless because it's Ninja Turtles on screen. But hopefully it'll be better than last year's.
Right.
I really liked that last one. I really liked it.
I did too.
From last year. I really enjoyed it.
I mean, it was fun. It was fun. It wasn't a great movie, but it was just a fun movie. So
it's what I want out of a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
Right. I mean, I'm not expecting it to be in the runner for Oscars.
Right.
Right.
You know, not every single plot hole's got to make sense. You're talking about,
right.
You know, 5'3". Well, not anymore. We're talking about 6'3" Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
So no, I agree. I really enjoyed it. I purchased it. I've watched it again, and for me, it still holds up. So I'm just hoping that they just continue the trend and make a better canonized, I guess, version. So.
Yeah.
And like I thought that the original, the one last year was it was good. I used to love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles like when I was a kid. I don't remember if I said this or not on the podcast, but when I was like in like kindergarten or something, like my family, my mom put me in a soccer team thing. Like I didn't have any, interest in soccer or sports or anything, so I just pretended I was a Ninja Turtle.
I bet you had a great time, though.
I did. Oh, yeah.
You probably confused all the parents watching, but...
Pissed off the coach so much. But whatever, awesome. I had weapons. I didn't have weapons, but in my mind I did. But anyway, in last year's, I've only seen it once in the theater with Tiny, but I remember coming away from it thinking like, okay, they make a reference in like the opening scene where April O'Neil has her on-air thing where it's like, it's the first day of April or something like that. And then later in the movie, it's like snowing and there's like snow everywhere. Like, does that...
They're up in a mountain.
Okay.
It snows in mountains.
Okay.
They're up in the Catskills.
Gosh.
Okay. That was one thing I couldn't understand. I was like, wait, what?
Science eludes, Matt.
Right.
What's the line that William Fichtner says?
If it's spring and it's snowing, then what's this global warming everyone's saying? But anyway, what was the line?
There's
just
like
kidding. Just kidding.
It's April always comes or something silly.
It was something like, oh, I can't remember, but that was probably my favorite line of the movie.
I laughed so hard.
It reminds me of the James Bond when Denise Richards played Christmas Jones or something like Christmas comes twice a year.
Oh my god!
I need to get back to my Bond Blu-rays.
Me too.
On a Ninja Turtles topic, I am getting my tattoo started tomorrow, and the focal piece is the shredder. So
nice. I see that you have is that a Ninja Turtles on your arm?
Right.
Yes.
Up here, the upper arm. The
right.
Turtles.
Yes.
So
nice.
It's the comic book villain portion of the tattoo. So Shredder's going to be the focal point.
Nice. Is that going to be on your arm as well?
Yeah, it's going to be the lower portion of the arm.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
You going with like a full sleeve?
Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
So,
that's awesome, man.
I can't wait. I'm
awesome.
looking forward to it.
Cool.
When it's done, we'll put it on the Facebook page.
Cool. It'll be several months.
Okay,
but we can do progressive.
Yeah, we'll forget about it by then.
Sorry. The hell with
it. It's funny.
But yeah, so that's cool. Yeah, that's cool that's something that you're excited about. Sequel. I don't know how to transition.
Have your fun.
Hey, I understand turtles aren't for everybody. Okay?
Well, you know.
Yeah.
So Tiny, what do you got for Potpourri?
I haven't watched much still. I haven't been watching a lot, but I did watch over the weekend. You've Got Mail for the first time. And I didn't watch it in a very good way. I
don't think anyone ever has.
But I watched it on a basic cable channel, like AMC or something.
So all the hardcore nudity was just cut out.
Yes.
Well, that scene where Meg Ryan just goes to town on Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Gone.
But no, it had commercials, and it took like 3 hours to watch it because it had commercials. I really don't see what the big deal is. Because a lot of people say it's like one of the better romantic comedies.
I was bored to tears.
I feel, I think I talked about it fairly recently on a Potpourri
I think you
episode.
did, yeah.
A few months ago. Also, I will mention that our friends at Kate's Take did a really good episode about it.
Okay.
But, it was serviceable. But yeah, I think one of the big draws for You've Got Mail was that Nora Ephron wrote and directed it, and it was reteaming. I think her with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan from Sleepless in Seattle, which I think across the general consensus is that Sleepless in Seattle is the much better movie of the two.
Maybe I'm looking into the movie too much because it's a romantic comedy, but one of the things that bothered me was here's Meg Ryan's character. He's like, I hate corporate stuff, which is, I get that. And then everything, here's AOL, here's my computer thing, and here's all this. And at the end, it's almost like the writers kind of like, it's okay, corporate's great. Look how Tom Hanks has now offered you a job, even though he put your business out of commission. But now you work here, and it's fantastic. You make $7 an hour in New York.
First of all, I don't think you can ever look too deep into a romantic comedy. Those movies are dripping with subtext.
So you're right. How silly
social commentary.
How silly of me.
I think I just need to see it again. I think that's part of it. I think I'd appreciate it a lot more if I watched it like as a DVD version or something.
Yeah.
Because,
and not to bogart your potpourri segment or anything, but it's funny you mentioned that that you watched it on TV, like with commercial interruptions and everything like that. It's funny because recently on I think it was the Flicks subreddit, someone said like, "Hey, how do you watch movies?" And one of it was like. I think the reason for posting that was he said that he found that he's been relying on physical media to watch movies because they're always edited too severely on TV. I can't remember the last time that I watched something on TV, like airing on TV with commercial interruptions and stuff, at least in a movie. Right? It's we've reached a point where we have such easy access to so much media that's not interrupted or anything. And I have a sizable DVD collection. I have Netflix, I have Amazon Prime, I have Hulu Plus, which there's a rant that at one point I will go on about people getting all up in arms about the Hulu Plus ads. I'll go on that on a different day. But the movies on Hulu Plus aren't interrupted by advertisements or anything, or edited in any way. But it's just reached a point where, like when I moved in, like I've lived in my apartment for a couple months now, and when I moved in, I had cable installed, and part of the cable package is I have just limited basic cable. And the first few weeks that I lived here, I would basically turn on the TV and watch the news in the morning when I got ready for work. But now it's I haven't used my cable box ever. Since then, watching the news has been replaced with waking up and putting on a podcast and listening to it. While I get ready. And it's indicative of the time that, watching something on TV without, I don't have a DVR or anything here, but watching, coming across a movie on FX or TNT or something like that, and then watching it all the way through. It's that's something that just is so foreign to me these days because I have just I'm not hurting for content to watch.
I'll catch my wife doing that. I'll walk in, she'll be watching a movie on TNT, USA, whatever, and I look at her and I go, we own that movie. Why? It's right here. Let me get it for you. Right. And it boggles my mind. She won't listen to me.
My girlfriend did that with Back to the Future the other day. I was like, I had that on Blu-ray.
And that's one of that's one of the, I would venture to say that it's in league with Star Wars in terms of it's the way that it's the flow of it, the narrative flow of it, the way that it's the runtime is so breezy. It's so well. What's the word? I'm looking for a way to phrase it, but anyway, just the flow of the movie. Anyway, the flow of the movie is so perfect that that's something that you're just severely, even though it's not edited for any cursing or anything like that or any vulgar content, you're still limiting yourself severely by watching it on, edited.
You're breaking the flow with commercials.
Exactly.
Well, and I was watching it at my girlfriend's parents' place. They live out in the country and in the country proper, and they have a great yard, and so when we're up there, we spend the time out on the deck or on the porch, and they got really nice lights up there, and we just put on some music and just hang out it's great. But there's a big thunderstorm rolling through, a string of thunderstorms on Saturday night. So we were in there watching TV, and they were just kind of scrolling through the thing, trying to see what what to watch, and we just happened upon it, and her mom knew that I had never seen it. She's like, "Oh, this is your opportunity to watch it." I was like, "Is it? Is it though?" And so yeah,
That's awesome.
but so I had to watch it, and my girlfriend and her mother love the movie. They love that movie so much, and so throughout it, they were talking about it, and they were like, "Oh, this is the part where this happens," and I'm like, "I'm trying to watch it." And so
Show them Game of Thrones and then get back at them. Like, this is the part where he gets beheaded, and
yes,
this is the part where she gets raped.
God,
the rape scene is well shot in this show. Love the angles.
Yeah. So hard.
It flows really well. I'm so sorry.
So yeah, I will have to revisit it in a proper context, and really, I don't know if I'll report back to you guys, but
Okay.
I'm sure I'd like it if I saw it in a better setting.
Yeah, it's fine. It's nothing to email home about.
Look at this guy.
Although I will say, again, Kate Stake did a really good episode because she drew from her personal experience working at a small, I think it was when she was working at Suncoast Video, she talked about working there, and it was at a time when, I think Best Buy had bought like their catalog of movies, so that basically was the death knell for Suncoast Videos, and she was like a manager there, like during it. So there's a really good content in their episode about it.
Nice.
Wasn't that in Circle Center, Suncoast Video?
There was
one in Lafayette Square.
Lafayette
Was there?
Square.
Yeah.
That's where I bought a majority of my Akira Kurosawa movies that I was a douchebag, pretentious movie fan as a
The
teenager.
diegetic sound is amazing in this.
This has subtitles and it's in black and white, so
So deep.
this is an adaptation of Shakespeare.
Go watch your Titanic on your own time.
Well, I can go ahead and transition that into my potpourri. I've actually two things now that you mentioned that. And this is kind of old news, but I'm kind of not tickled, but James Cameron had the Avatar sequels were supposed to start coming out in like December of 2016, I think.
Yeah, something's.
Yeah, but now like there's at least within the last few days actually, they announced that it's going to be postponed. Like they're going to release it in like 2017. And I'm like,
I couldn't care less.
oh my god, I can't. Like it feels like this whole predicament on their part is kind of a microcosm of my problems with James Cameron. Like he's responsible for technology wise alone, just really breakthrough things in filmmaking and the way movies are shot and released and all that and the effects and everything. But he's also like, I don't get him. I don't think he's a good writer. I don't think that he's
I think he's he directed one of my favorite movies, Aliens, but as far as his recent catalog, I'm with you.
He's a really good visual director.
Yes.
But that's it.
Yeah, his storytelling is just really problematic and really verbose. Just make a 2-hour movie, buddy.
Yeah.
Right.
But he's got like Avatar was one of the worst offenders for me in terms of his storytelling because it was awful. I didn't think it was not good storytelling at all. It was not
just there was nothing new about it.
Yeah,
and it was just so drawn out, and I didn't get the. I've talked to people that absolutely adore that movie, and I don't understand it.
Yeah, and now he's working on 2 sequels, right. Avatar 2 and 3, and he has, script-wise, he has material for a 4th,
right?
And he's having trouble making that incorporating that into 3 movies, and they're talking about how they should extend it to a 4th, and I'm like, dude, and I think I may have said this on another episode of the podcast, but dude, you've got Star Wars is coming out soon. DC's going to have their universe. Marvel's still going strong. Like, there's not room in movies for a big science fiction effects driven franchise that, as much as Avatar is still like the biggest, like the most profitable movie ever made or whatever it is, or the biggest movie ever made, basically. I mean, it's pretty much obvious that Star Wars is going to eclipse that in December anyway.
Maybe.
So
I hope, but I wouldn't put any guarantees on it.
Really? I think it's a given.
Well, I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
I've been trying to shield my cynicism about Star Wars, but like I listened to a lot of podcasts and like I've seen a lot of articles and stuff about people who are like, oh my god, I can't wait till The Force Awakens comes out. It's going to be the best movie ever. And I'm like in the back of my head, I'm like, okay guys, okay, you know, it could be amazing. Yeah. Everything we've seen looks good, but keep in perspective, you would have been seeing it last weekend, but they postponed it till December because I believe it was because they had script problems with Michael Arndt. So keep that in mind. But yeah, so.
that profit goal might be unobtainium.
Oh God. Oh God.
Wow.
Because that was the element in Avatar.
I got you.
Very good.
So anyway, my other potpourri. The other thing I have for potpourri is I watched Cujo. And the movie adaptation of the Stephen King novel, which I have a review that's going to go up on Obsessive Book Nerd soon for the book. And I might throw in like the little discussion, my little mini review I gave to you guys when we were talking about it before the show of the book. But the movie was interesting to me because it's followed the book pretty closely. Like it followed it almost exactly, and it was in terms of the pacing and everything. Pacing was the word I was looking for. But
there it is.
In terms of the pacing of the movie, it followed the book almost to a T. But there's something to be said about Stephen King adaptations and filmmakers' desire / dumbassedness to follow it, to only emphasize the horror aspects and not the suspense and storytelling and building. Because while reading Cujo, I was like the majority of the book takes place in a Pinto with a woman and her son that are trapped by the rabid Cujo, a 200-pound Saint Bernard, and it's very intense. But what engaged me so much more in the book is how there are little, like there's about 50% of the book is all set up leading up to them getting trapped in the Pinto.
Right.
And throughout that, they establish all of these little things here and there. And then throughout their entrapment in the Pinto, there's little things that like she did at home that kind of set up something that could get them saved. And then there's like, it's something just kind of like leaving a note on the thing, and in case their babysitter comes by or whatever, and then just leaving a note there, and then having someone unrelated that could have saved them, that could have rescued them, and that could have been the end of the book there. But someone comes along completely unrelated and tears that away, and it's just an afterthought of the action that this character does. Because what's interesting to me is that none of the suspense is built on the actions of characters making just rational and irrational decisions, but not in reaction to what is actually going on. And they just completely didn't do anything like that in the book. And that's like the husband finds out that like he gets it in his head that she's not answering the phone. He's out of town, and he's kind of getting worried. So they're like, well, she's probably with friends or something like that. And then he calls the police, and then they're like, well, where could she be? And then there's pages where the detectives are trying to like troubleshoot where she is and everything. And it's just this really interesting, interweaving, interconnected kind of story that like everything that's bad happens, but it's so just organic. But none of that is in the movie, and that just it bothered me a lot. Yeah, it's
the danger of book adaptations to movies.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, there's not really a way that, I mean, you could probably translate it pretty well to a movie. And if you establish that they're in the Pinto first, and then you have like flashbacks or something, or that kind of, I don't know, with the right filmmakers, not the filmmakers responsible for the Poltergeist remake, but I feel like someone could do a serviceable job for that, but while carrying on like the energy or doing right by the original work, instead of having this okay, this is a movie about a rabid dog and not about a family drama or about a family being like this wife and this mother and sons struggle for survival. It's more like, okay, well, there's this, like the original movie is like, there's the one movie of it is like, oh, there's a rabid dog. Let's, it's gonna kill them. Oh, it just doesn't really
no subtlety.
Yeah, no subtlety.
Yeah.
I will say that the dogs that they used for the movie, they use multiple dogs, but there's one on screen, but very effective. I thought thought it was really cool.
Must have got that Beethoven dog for it.
Yeah. But I'm surprised that no one's remade it because I mean it's something
when was that made? When was the original?
The original movie was like 83, I think.
Yeah, that's prime time right now for a remake.
Oh,
yeah, it is.
Yeah, so I don't know, but I mean the movie was okay, and the book isn't my favorite Stephen King book or anything like that, but it was
It's still Stephen King.
It's still Stephen King. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Speaking of Stephen King, how do you feel about it kind of losing its momentum right now?
Yeah, we talked about it on the previous episode.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad. As much as I like the original, I kind of wanted to see what they were going to come up with a remake.
Me too, and it's a shame. It really is, and I mean, there's some hope that it might live on in another studio, but it's like, I mean, Cary Fukunaga, he really was like he was the center for it. Like he was like this was a passion project for him, and it's a shame. So
talk about something that actually needs to be remade.
Yeah.
As opposed to Poltergeist, which was held up great. It was a good
Right.
movie.
Yeah, it still holds up. I don't get it.
Anyways.
Yeah. So anyway, that about does it, I think. Anything else we want to talk about?
No.
No. All right. Well, thank you, Fekkes, for
Thanks
coming
for
on
having
again.
me back.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, we'll have to have you on again soon.
I'll be by at PopCon for sure.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. PopCon's going to be fun.
I'm looking forward to it. I'll be there at least one day, maybe two.
Nice. So. I think we just found out we're going to have a time on the podcaster stage sometime Saturday. Hopefully,
I'll definitely be there
afternoon.
on Saturday. So.
Nice.
Cool.
Sweet. So we'll have one fan there. So yeah, well, anyway, thanks for listening, guys, and we'll go ahead and go to our pre-record outros, and also probably the spoiler section of it. I don't know. Yeah, I should cut that.
Yeah, we'll stick it at the end.
I'll stick it at the end. Yeah.
Oh, that's what she said.
All right, well, thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks. Well, can we get into spoilers?
Yeah, we can go ahead and go into spoilers now.
Well, the reason I wanted to do spoilers it really is just because the scene, there's something in this movie that's very different from the original. I thought it was kind of a bold choice. I don't really know how well it worked or not, but the fact that they actually show you what the other realm looks like, the afterlife, like
didn't like it.
You didn't like it?
Did not like it.
Yeah.
For one, it was too computer animated for my taste.
Okay.
And I guess it's hard to, you can't really do that as a practical effect.
Yeah.
But in the original, I kind of like the novelty of the only people that know what's on the other side now are Carol Ann and the mother.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there's that mystery to it. But now you brought the entire viewing population into it, and I don't know. I didn't think it worked the way they intended. I agree it was bold.
Yeah.
I hated how they did it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're talking about, the first thing that this, the Poltergeist is doing is messing with all the electronics. You're trying to tell me that this drone is going to be like, oh,
Right.
no problem seeing all this stuff.
Exactly.
I hated the drone.
No, the drone made me so angry.
Yeah, it reminds me of I haven't seen the Psycho remake all the way through because it's the Psycho remake. But there's a scene.
And Hesh killed it.
But there's a scene in the Psycho remake where the two characters are like when what's her name goes to when Marion Crane's sister goes to her boyfriend to find out, like, to try to find her missing sister. In the remake, apparently, there's a scene where they're like, it's a shot for shot remake of the original, but there's a scene in the remake where after their scene, which is a shot for shot remake, she just says, "Oh, hang on, I gotta go get my Walkman." It's like you're injecting, like, if you're remaking a movie, there's a certain point where like lazy remakes just infuse current technology to show that it's different. It's the same as it was used to better effect for me in A Nightmare on Elm Street remake, where they had the live stream video thing where the guy falls asleep and you see him kill himself or whatever, die. And certain times it's okay to do that, or it's interesting, but the drone was just clearly like let's drones are popular now,
and the tracking devices too. You know, the guy's like, no, when you go into this other realm, there's no up, there's no down, but it's okay because we're gonna have these tracking devices. I have no problem finding you.
Yeah. What is the logic in the tracking devices to see, like, to see where they are in the house in the other realm?
It's just, and you know what? I guess you can make the other realm a little bit more effective with practical effects. I thought Insidious did a decent job of doing like the other realm. At least they did a better job than the remake of Poltergeist.
They did do a better job, but I don't
even really remember Insidious. I fell asleep during it.
Insidious 3 comes out Friday. You
does it really?
Yeah, it does. Wow. They won't stop.
Yeah.
God.
I'm not defending the Insidious series. I'm just saying that I thought they did a much better job with the other world than.
I'll agree with that. Yeah. But I thought it looked sort of cool, but it wasn't. It didn't have the desired effect, I think. Yeah. I think they wanted people to be like, they think that it was awesome, like, ooh, that scared the crap out of me, or that would be so freaky, but I didn't feel that way about it, but it was.
I just felt like they were getting chased by tar zombies.
Yeah, like every other aspect of this movie, it was lazy. Like it seemed like they have some slightly distorted images of ghouls and stuff. That's they didn't want to pay too much for the digital effects, so they kind of had him shrouded in darkness, and it kind of had like bottom of the ocean kind of feel to it. This kind of aesthetic to it, but it was just really ineffective to me.
Yeah, it's funny. They in the sequel to Poltergeist 2, they actually go back into the other side and they show it in that movie. And you want to talk about awful effects?
Really?
Oh, it's terrible. Huh. It's like they're flying around, and I say flying as a literal term, in a realm that's it looks like it's just painted with the ooze from Ghostbusters 2.
Oh, really?
And it's awful, and they're playing this awful music during the entire time, and they throw a spear at the it's terrible.
Jeez. Well, I was gonna say then the other part was that I wanted to talk about as far as spoilers go was the ending where the house blows up.
Yeah.
And like in the original, it was done to great effect. That's another really famous part of that movie. The house implodes on itself, which is really cool. It's a different. It's not what you would expect,
right?
For something to implode, and in this movie, they just blew out. The roof blew off. Essentially, it looked a little cool, but it's like, what? Why?
And probably the biggest, most offensive thing I could find about it, and even as someone who only retroactively became a fan of, or not retroactively became a fan, but gained a new appreciation for the original after having seen the remake, was the pivotal plot point, very integral plot point from the original, where they move the headstones but not the bodies. All of that element of the movie in the remake is relegated to an off-the-cuff line from Jared Harris saying like, well, they probably just left the bodies.
Yeah.
Like, that is a pivotal point of the movie, and you have it thrown away by this kooky guy with scars all over him.
Right.
Saying, like, he has a hunch. Like, that's one of the biggest dramatic draws of the original is when he realizes it and he yells at the guy.
Yeah.
And it's such well played in the original too, how he finds out, because it's one of those breather moments where you kind of think this might be a throwaway scene to get him out in the open.
Yeah.
Boom. It's like, we did it 5 years ago. Now they can visit their loved ones not too far away. And he goes, well, that just seems kind of sacrilegious. And I don't know. I enjoyed how it was brought to fruition in the original.
Yeah.
And they tried to replicate that discussion when they were at the dinner, and I hated it.
Oh my god!
Because they had that pompous lady even go, well, they can visit their loved ones 5-minute drive away. And it's like,
And then no, she goes, they moved into a nicer neighborhood.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I was like, you twatty bitch. Oh, that drove me nuts. Pardon my language.
That is going on the promo reel. But yeah, and then like even the most like there are lines in the original, like when the kid screams for in the original he screams for the closet light. I think the girls Carol Ann screams for the closet light.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then in the remake also there's in both of them there's like the kind of like, well, at least it's not an ancient Indian burial ground.
Right.
Oh. And like in the original it's fine. It's good and everything, but then in the remake it's like it's so forced and so awkward, like like look at us referencing the original movie that we're tarnishing completely.
Right. There's in the second one, the original, this is all rushed. And like in the remake, the way you think the house is clean, all of a sudden, boom, it's not. In the original, they gave you a nice breather, and then it just smacks you over the head with a bat, and I love it. And one of the best parts for me is, they talk about how Carol Ann doesn't remember any of the ordeal.
Yeah.
But then it starts back up again in the bedroom while mom's taking the bath, and Carol Ann just gives a very... no more, and it's just that I don't know what it is about the way she delivers that line, but it's just you feel for that kid.
Yeah.
But there's none of that. They just rush it, like when the stupid say the line. This house is clean.
Oh God,
that killed me. They destroyed the famous line of "This house is clean."
Oh yeah.
Ugh.
And I liked I forget the name. Her name's Zelda. But the girl that played Tangina, she was quirky but effective. I really liked her in the original.
Who played who?
The Tangina, the psychic.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, her name's Zelda something, but
she was the way that character was used in the original was she was more of a Deus Ex Machina, but she was played so well by Zelda. What's her face? I can't remember her name.
Yeah,
she was played so well and so memorably that she became part of the iconography of the film,
right?
Because she's such an interesting person. But really, the character, if you just stuck your standard actor in there, I don't know how much we'd really remember that character.
Right? No, exactly. It was her performance in it.
Right?
So.
Exactly.
And she made it back into the second and the third ones too.
Did she really?
She did.
Gosh.
She did. To ill effects.
Slight tangent. How is the third one? Because the third one takes place in a high-rise, a skyscraper.
Let me set up for you the plot of the third one. Okay.
Okay.
The family has kind of disowned Carol Ann at this time.
Right.
Almost kind of like, get this child away from me.
Okay.
So she goes to live with her aunt and uncle in a city, maybe New York, and she gets enrolled into a special school. So. And it's funny because it's always bothered me about this line in the third one. They're talking about how special she is between the administrators of the school, and the head administrator is like, that little kid that will sit there and make fantastical stories about their house disappearing. Well, this child actually made an entire neighborhood believe that their house disappeared. It's like, what? How do you make a child believe? No, the house disappeared. It's gone.
Right.
We saw the first movie. But so
wow,
the Poltergeist is coming after her again. And if you didn't see the second one, the Poltergeist is actually a reverend that led all of his people into a doomsday shelter buried underneath what was whatever that neighborhood
was
called.
A huge mistake to personify the villain.
Absolutely.
So stupid.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
But he's a preacher, led his people to doom. They starved and died underneath the ground because he's telling them the world's going to end. So he's the antagonist. He's the Poltergeist. Well, he follows her to New York, and he's inhabiting the mirror world or some silly nonsense.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he's messing with her with, all the standard tricks, the psychological stuff. And Tangina mentally senses that Carol Ann's in trouble again. So she shows back up in New York to help her. And Tangina goes into the other world and leads the Poltergeist into the light. And that kind of seals the deal.
Okay.
Huh.
Wow.
It's not worth seeing unless they do like a riff tracks of it. It's awful.
Wow.
Jeez. Yeah, I was all gung ho about seeing, like, being a completionist for it and seeing the remake and then seeing all the original ones, and then I was like, maybe I'll write reviews of each one. But then I was like, nope, no.
I mean, you can. but like in the second one,
doubt I will.
there's this awful scene where the dad is trying to get the family back together because it's all disjointed. Everyone's just tired of this, and he's trying to help it out, but no one's really biting. So he grabs a bottle of tequila and starts downing the tequila, and it's one of those tequila bottles with a worm in the bottom of it. He swallows the worm, and the worm turns into this monster, and he ends up throwing the monster up in this giant snake monster.
Oh my god.
It's awful.
Wow. Does Craig T. Nelson?
Yeah,
come
he
back for him?
reprises. Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
In fact, everyone except for the oldest sister, because I believe she died by that point.
Oh,
She
yeah.
had died,
yeah. But everyone comes back and reprises their roles. So.
Would you guys say that the true curse of Poltergeist is the remake?
Yeah.
That's the complete fruition of it.
Right.
Yeah.
The worst has happened. I'm so sorry to the families if they're listening.
Sorry for Miss Rourke.
Right. Well, is that about all that we have to discuss about Poltergeist?
Yeah.
'Cause
That's about all the attention I can pay
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah.
the sequels to the original, better or worse than The Exorcist 2 Heretic?
Oh my God, that's. I don't. Why would you even want to discuss such a painful topic? I don't even know.
No, I own Exorcist 2.
That's sad.
It is. Well, it was part of the complete anthology DVD set. So it has The Exorcist, Exorcist 2,
Oh no.
and then Exorcist 3, which is serviceable
Yeah.
to an extent.
If you say so, I've
Yeah.
seen it. But
And then the two Exorcist prequels that were made I think they were made by different studios at the same time.
yeah.
One incorporated footage from the other. It was weird.
There was a big. That would have been a good one for your contract disputes.
Oh yeah, it really
but-
would have.
But yeah, that was. I remember that being a huge mess.
Yeah. Ugh.
Speaking of anthologies, you had me curious to go back and watch Alien Resurrection after you had said that you kind of enjoyed it, and so I did that.
What'd you think?
It was terrible, still terrible. I don't see where you thought it was passable.
You know, I could feel. I don't even really remember it that well, but I remember it was kind of certain Whedonisms were in it, and
is that a Joss Whedon?
yeah, I think he co-wrote the
He
script.
polished
or
it, I
something.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't polish a turd. Well, Mythbusters just proved that, I guess.
Well, well, in context of the franchise, after Alien 3, though, I would say that Resurrection is better than Alien 3.
Yeah, it would.
I'd have to go back and watch Alien 3, but you're talking about which turd smells worse.
Right. The big draw about it was that it's the I want to say oh my god, what is her name? The writer. I can't remember her name. She's a big name.
I don't know.
Big name and like what, romantic comedies?
Yeah, and like writing romantic comedies. Hang on.
Oh,
It's something.
Nora Ephron?
Nora Ephron? Yes. Is that right?
Am I making that name up?
No, I don't think you are. I think
Technically,
it's right.
every name has been made up.
All right, I'm going to cut this part out. Damn it.
Or Nora Jones?
No,
That's a singer.
No, that's a singer.
Oh, yeah.
She starred in Ted. if
That's
you
right.
remember.
I gotta her again.
Good.
But yeah, it was Nora Ephron. So,
Okay.
As always, loyal listeners, thank you for listening to the Obsessive Viewer podcast. And thank you, of course, to Loud Like for providing our awesome opening theme music. Their first EP, their first of a few actually coming out in the next few months. Check them out. Anyway, it's called Mistakes We Must Make and features our theme song and a clips of events. Make sure that you rate and review us on iTunes after you listen to this episode. It helps us out a lot, and it gives us the ability to say, hey, people like us. Also, please like our Facebook page at facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer, and you can follow each of us on Twitter. You can find Matt at Obsessive Viewer, Tiny is Obsessive Tiny, and me, Mike, I'm at I am Mike White on Twitter. You can also check out the blog at obsessiveviewer.com, where all three of us, but mostly Matt, review movies and TV shows and talk about all kinds of things. It's kind of the written form of this podcast. You can also check out Obsessive Book Nerd, which has book reviews and commentary on the evolving world of reading. And also check out Tiny's The Secular Perspective, which is a podcast exploring the concepts of faith, religion, and existence from the perspective of secular hosts. If you have any thoughts on the podcast in general or this particular podcast you just listened to, or even suggestions for future podcasts, please email us individually at Matt, Tiny, or Mike at obsessiveviewer.com, or you can just email the podcast directly as a whole, kind of directed to all three of us at podcast@obsessiveviewer.com. Again, thank you so much for listening. We love you. Be excellent to each other.